26-7, Kansas City over Miami. Miami had 13 first downs. So there's a difference between flawed. Most teams are flawed. Salary cap. Outside of Baltimore and San Francisco, you can pick holes in even the good teams. And fake, which is success based on circumstance. Dallas, bad teams at home. Miami, playing in ideal conditions. Yes, at home when the weather is ideal against a bad team, the Dolphins look like Mike Tyson at 23 years old. Clever, smart, fast, flashy. But did they even compete against Kansas City? They no-showed. I mean, they waved the white flag in the second half. Bubble screens, trailing by 3 touchdowns. It's kind of embarrassing. They looked cold. They played cold. And one of the things I love about this business is when I'm right, I remind you, and when I'm wrong, you remind me. And I never fell in love with Miami, and I've always been kind of dubious about Tua, though I think he's a great kid. Miami is lucky that Kansas City wasn't very good in the red zone, or it would have been 42-7. This wasn't really competitive. Like, I was shocked by how weak the effort was. And the only really big completion Tua had the entire game was a massively underthrown ball that the great Tyreek Hill came back, caught, and turned into a touchdown. But think about this. Tua had fewer passing yards than Skylar Thompson did last year in his playoff game at Buffalo.
I'm back. It's me. Had a huge router crash here. Everything went down. Hope some of you guys come back and join this screen. And if you don't and you watch it on demand, I hope you see it then. So that was Colin Cowherd as he began speaking about the debacle that we all witnessed last Sunday. Everything seems to be working 5 by 5. I hope there's some people here. If you are here and you were here before,
come on, show some love and click that like button.
Go ahead and click the like button. Get these people back in here. We got a lot to talk about. I'm not going to try and go back on what we talked about in part 1. Here in part 2, we're going to start segue into the next part of the show that I wasn't able to do during part 1. So part 1, just to recap, I talked about what happened on Hard Knocks. Go back and see that episode, or the beginning of this episode, which we're going to dub part 1. This is part 2. And so in this video here, we're going to listen to Colin Cowherd. He's going to go on a little bit about the Miami Dolphins and their performance on up in Kansas City this past weekend, and hopefully give some time for some people to get in here. Let's continue.
Like, that was really, really embarrassing. Shockingly bad. So you're not going to get rid of Tua.
No, and I think that's where a lot of people think that I won't. You're not going to get rid of him. I'm just saying don't pay him. I'm saying lock him up. Keep him where he is. You don't have to pay him. There's no rush to pay him. You already have his 5th-year option, and then you can franchise him after that. And if you want it, you can franchise tag him again. There is no urgency whatsoever to pay to it. Just keep him on the team. Let him compete for a job next year.
And my takeaway is he has value. He's a good kid. He's a nice leader. But you have to have a grown-up conversation and admit what he is. The Dolphins did not extend Tua's contract. Even with injuries, the Bengals did to Joe Burrow. Like, doesn't that kind of tell you? Did you watch the play calling in the second half in this game? Mike McDaniel was protecting him. Mike McDaniel.
Now, I hope you guys understand that. When Mike McDaniel saw things start to go south, you could see, and a lot of people were saying he wasn't calling the right plays. Mike McDaniel is the guy who caused the problem, the loss. He knew early on that there was a problem with the quarterback play. He knew right away after a couple passes that this isn't going to work. Tua does not have the arm strength to fight this win. I mean, geez, Patrick Mahomes had to fight to win. There were a couple of passes early that sailed on him, but then, of course, he knew, okay, I just got to throw it harder. There was no second gear for Tua to throw it harder. He's got one gear, and if he can do the rainbows, but the rainbows weren't working because of the wind and everything, and plus the defense as well. They were hammering the wide receivers. So Mike McDaniel got completely outcoached, and he was limited by his quarterback play.
It was protecting Tua. They didn't extend his contract. Let's stop the Pro Bowl stuff. I mean, let's stop. Next September.
Exactly. Every time I see somebody say Tua is a starter in the Pro Bowl, I want to laugh. I'm like, starting what? What exactly is Tua starting in the Pro Bowl? Tell me. Does he get a better, longer flag? Does he get the better Nickelodeon slime? What are you starting? It's a flag football game. It's a fan fest. Just stop it. Stop it with the Pro Bowl shit. You guys all, not you guys, a lot of people just stuffed the ballot box and voted 10, 20, 30 times just so Tua would be a Pro Bowler. We all know what you did. The league knows what you did. The media knows what you did.
Light it up again, and everybody will fall for it again. But 94 degrees, if you look at the AFC and you look at the really good football operations, Baltimore, Kansas City, now Cincinnati, Cleveland. I mean, Pittsburgh, you're not worrying much, but Pittsburgh. You start looking, Kansas, all these AFC teams, Buffalo. This is what the games look like.
Yep.
Mike McDaniel is a very good coach.
And if Mike doesn't do something, understand, it doesn't matter if it's this year. Next year's the same thing. Next year, the teams that are in the AFC that at this point are strong teams play in cold weather. So unless you have home field advantage and you win the games that you have to win so that you can have home field advantage, hey man, you're gonna have to basically pack up the truck and build the igloo somewhere in Buffalo or Kansas City or perhaps Cleveland or Pittsburgh next year. Who knows? But it's unless you have home field advantage, you have to plan on playing in inclement weather in December and January. The problem I have is, did Mike McDaniel not have a plan for that? Did he just assume that they were going to walk in and take the AFC East title and be home field advantage? Did he not really even see that it was a possibility that, hey, we may blow a couple of these games and end up backing in and being a wild card and have to get on the road? Did you not foresee that? Was it not on a whiteboard somewhere? Was it not in the war room where you guys talked about, okay, what's plan C in case we lose these 3 games and we have to, go to Buffalo or go here or go there? Didn't seem like there was a plan. They were completely lost.
Conditionally, in the first 2 years, road games 7-12.
Ouch.
So let's just be honest about what Mike's created and what Tua is. These are real conversations. You don't need to be defensive. Some of us saw it very early, and
It's so funny that we have to use that qualifier. Don't be defensive. It's reality. And I know, I can tell you right now, I'm not looking at the comment board, but I guarantee you there are probably more than 5 people who have said Colin Cowherd's a clown. Same thing you say about Stephen A. Smith. He's a clown. Same thing you say about me. He's a clown. Everybody who doesn't agree with you is a clown. I get it. I understand that. But you have to also understand that guys like Stephen A. Smith and Colin Cowherd also have quite large audiences, of which you are one. Because if you didn't see him talk, you wouldn't have the opinion that he's a clown. So you're exposing yourself as actually watching his stuff.
will remind you I did, because you'll remind me when I'm wrong, and that's often too. Listen. If they improve the O-line, they can win a bunch of games. Maybe they could host a playoff game next year. That would
There's a novel idea.
change everything. You're not going to bail on Tua, but I do think you have to start drafting quarterbacks. You're not going to bail on Dak. I mean, Minnesota still likes Kirk Cousins. Dak's comp. So it's different. You can bail on a coach, and I wouldn't bail on Mike McDaniel. He's a smart, clever guy. But you're going to have to win in the regular season. Because even in your own division, road games in Buffalo, New York, New England, a Baltimore.
I mean, it's funny. People call him a clown, but what he's saying is absolutely true. You can call him a whiny bitch. You can say all the pejoratives that you want. But you can't. And the reason why people go to those kind of messages and comments, I call them ad hominems, because that's exactly what they are. Because you don't have any argument to come against him with. Everything he's saying is true. Everything I say is true. May make a mistake here or there, but it's not like we're running propaganda campaigns. So when you say stuff, he's a clown or I'm a clown, all that shows is you have nothing to refute what we're saying, so you have to go on a personal attack.
A Pittsburgh, you're not built for it. He's not built for it. He didn't have a strong enough arm. I mean, Tua does not have a strong enough arm. For years and years, there's a reason that northern teams would draft a Flacco or a Big Ben, right? Like Brady was a great cold weather thrower. I mean, there's a reason teams like Chicago went and got Jay Cutler, Caleb Williams, power arm, Green Bay, Favre, Aaron Rodgers. It matters. Jordan Love's got a good arm. Why? Because this is what games look like at the end of the year.
And a lot of people were talking about give Tua another year, give Tua more time. Like, we don't have a choice. These guys may sign him. But if you need that long, please tell me how C.J. Stroud and Jordan Love were able to pull off the games that they pulled off. C.J. Stroud, a rookie. Jordan Love, essentially a rookie after he's come out of the shadow of Aaron Rodgers. How did they do it? Are you saying they had better coaching? Are you saying they had better weapons? Nope, they absolutely didn't. Are you saying that they didn't incur injuries? Absolutely, they had injuries. So how were Jordan Love and C.J. Stroud able to do what Tua Tagovailoa couldn't do? Nobody wants to answer those questions. Nobody wants to say, well, C.J. Stroud, he got lucky. Okay, you have to understand there's a reason why people look at Tua the way they do, and they don't care about the friggin' Pro Bowl, and they don't care about the yards that got raked up playing against tomato cans. What they're looking at is what did they do against the good teams, and did they win against the good teams? They didn't, so you can't refute that.
So a Kyler Murray, smaller player, or a Tua, you can play down south, but just know that this is how the season ends. This is what football games look like, especially in the AFC. You're going to be going into this weather. So regular seasons for Miami become paramount, because the way to win playoff games with Tua and McDaniel is back in South Beach, and that's the only way.
Only way. So Barry, why are you suspect of what's going to happen next year? Because I haven't seen anything as of yet change. And in the last, 3 days since the game had been played, all we're seeing thus far, and if you're paying attention, I'm going to show you some stuff today. All we're seeing since that game, since the Kansas City game, when the season ended, is somewhat bad news. We haven't seen any good news. Tua getting $45 million doesn't change a thing in regards to his performance. Tua getting paid $45 million doesn't do anything to change the result of him being able to play in cold weather where there's a bunch of AFC teams that play in cold weather. None of that changes. So what do we have to go on? Well, that's what the second half of this show is. This isn't about Tua. This is what the state of the team looks like. And when I start, actually I did it yesterday. I showed you. Christian Wilkins, Chris Greer said, have a nice life. Let me know what we can do. We'll try to match what you get. They may let him walk out the door. Big problem. Xavier Howard, nope, not taking a pay cut. Nah, would you take a pay cut, he said in the video? Nope, not taking a pay cut. We'll see what happens. AVG, going to be a free agent. All these things are happening, and they're not good things. They're things that can be rectified. It doesn't necessarily mean they're all going to leave, but it does mean that at this point, the team that just got done playing their season has already quickly gone into disarray. Very quickly that happened. And who knows where those dominoes are going to fall. So let me just thank you guys all that just came back.
Come on,
again, hit the
show
like
some
button.
love and click that like button.
Tua was the hype job. Tua was the hype job they do one every year. This year, Caleb Williams, who I wouldn't draft. Nope. After seeing him cry to mama, I couldn't do that. Hate cap for life. According to the general manager, 30% of the team will be gone next season. That's why it's important for the money bag players to take pay cuts, especially with our cap situation. He said 30 to 40% of the team would be gone. 30 to 40%. That's not good news. That's not me looking forward to next year going, it's going to be better. I'm like, You got a bunch of questions to answer, and you haven't answered that. Capper Life says, you think Wilkins is gone? Book it. Yeah, he may be. Should have gotten rid of X 3 years ago. Let's see what we had here. The Dolphins have been looking for a quarterback since Marino, but that's not the reason to pay Tua $45 million. You just can't say he's the best quarterback we've had in 20 years, and because he's the best quarterback in 20 years, he's entitled to that kind of money. That just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, Tannehill, they left hang around for years and years, and he didn't perform. Didn't have to pay him $45 million, thank God. But now, things are different. And so people today were asking me, do you feel the same about Herbert or Hurts or Burrow? And my answer to them, which probably surprised them, is you just answered that question. Burrow, hurt. Herbert, hurt. Herbert, hurt and sucked. Hurts, at the end, he imploded. Based on a trend line, which I always look at data, and I talk to you guys about data, based on a trend line, which one of these quarterbacks who've been paid $1 gazillion on guaranteed contracts have shown to be worth it? Obviously, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, big money contracts. The guys are still playing. They're still playing. Maybe one of them are going to end on Sunday because they play each other, but none of the other ones, Deshaun Watson, Daniel Jones, nobody has been able to prove that the investment thus far is worth it. And so if all the quarterbacks, excuse me, all the data you have in front of you says spending this big money on these quarterbacks doesn't show a return. In fact, Brock Purdy still playing on a rookie deal. CJ Stroud, obviously playing on a rookie deal. You're getting more return out of, basically, if you just go ahead and draft a new quarterback every 3 or 4 years and just keep them in a rotation. Skylar Thompson wasn't that kind of guy, obviously. Either that or they're not giving him enough reps to even test him. But this year, with the 21st or 22nd pick in the draft, why not take a shot at, you got other holes to fill, but the other thing is you don't want Tua's self-confidence to be bad. I think you have to. I think somewhere along the line, you have to draft somebody, maybe second or third round, and say, we're bringing somebody in, we're bringing in a gunslinger, and we want to see if this kid can perform. Tua, we're going to split the reps with you come minicamp. You're going to have to earn the starting job. It's been given to you thus far. You've had no competition. There's no competition this year. They named him the starter basically the day they opened camp. Last year, Teddy Bridgewater wasn't going to challenge him. They weren't going to give him that opportunity, which is insane. How do you not give somebody the opportunity to beat out the other guy? Next year, you have to begin planning for the future if you want to keep going. So, with that, let me just show you terms of more disarray, which I never thought I would see. This was posted over on Twitter X today, and it's Frank Smith. As you know, he interviewed with the Carolina Panthers the other day. Now the Seattle Seahawks requested an interview with Dolphins offensive coordinator Frank Smith for their head coaching job. So pretty much, Frank Smith is gone. He wouldn't be continuing to take these interviews if he didn't plan on being a head coach somewhere. He's gone. I couldn't tell you, if you put a gun to my head, what he did this year anyway. I mean, most offensive coordinators call the plays. Mike McDaniel called the plays, so I don't know what Frank Smith even did. But I guess he was good at what he did because people were looking to bring him on. Big teams, head coach. Seattle Seahawks and Carolina Panthers thus far have interviewed or requested an interview with Frank Smith to be their head coach. So there's a strong possibility you're going to lose your offensive coordinator. It's not a strong thing going into the next season, especially when you have a quarterback that basically has to feel comfortable and you won't have an OC. Then this one just dropped me as a bomb today. This one here, I don't know if you guys saw it. Vic Fangio is now, his name is being out there as not coming back next year. Jaw dropper. Just it completely shocked me that Vic Fangio may not be coming back. Joe Shad from the Palm Beach Post says, he quotes Mike McDaniel here, says, "We're still grieving as a coaching staff over the loss. I am communicating with players, then we'll get together as a staff and then address the season in a painful but productive way." But he doesn't address Vic Fangio. It was an actual question. And what's weird is, here's Barry Jackson saying, McDaniel avoiding the Fangio question was quite interesting. So you're telling me the highest priced defensive coordinator ever who got a cake job with the Miami Dolphins may leave after 1 year? Where's he going? Rumor has it, if Harbaugh comes back, he's going with Harbaugh, wherever Harbaugh ends up. So going into this new season, that everyone says it's going to be better and great, there's a chance within the next couple weeks, we're not talking, way in the future, we're talking probably by March. Here's what the Miami Dolphins are going to be faced with, just by March. By March, you are going to have to decide whether or not to give Tua the big money. Whether or not you can go ahead and tell him you want to play on the option and he gets pissed off, that's up to him. But you're going to have to make a decision, and that's because from what I understand hearing from some people is that he is not going to go into March and April without having his money set. He's not going to do the Christian Wilkins thing and say, let me play it out and see how it goes. Nope. I want my money. F you, pay me. So at that point, they're going to have to do something with him by March. Within the next couple of weeks, Frank Smith is probably going to take a job someplace. If he's got two major offers or actually interviews with two teams, Carolina Panthers and the Seattle Seahawks, more than likely he's going to be gone. Once Jim Harbaugh decides which of these teams he's going to go to, you're probably going to lose Vic Fangio. So by March, it's entirely possible that this team doesn't have their quarterback in a position that they want him to. They don't have an offensive coordinator, and they don't have a defensive coordinator. That's not really good to look forward to. When everyone says, things are going to get better this year, I'm like, okay, first of all, are you seeing what's happening on the horizon here? Are you paying attention? I mean, it wasn't like Vic Fangio was fantastic this year, but if you start losing all these players, remember, Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips probably won't be back, maybe to the fifth or sixth game. Who's going to play, defensive end and pass rush? And then who are you going to bring in for a short term? Who knows? I'm only here. I'm a placeholder. I'm just going to be here until Jalen and Bradley Chubb get back. AVG, what happens if he goes? It's a friggin' nightmare. It's a friggin' nightmare. And nobody wants to see that. They just want to say, oh, it's going to be better next year. Then wait till they announce the schedule. And you see what the end of the year looks like and where people have to go and what the weather's like. So there's a lot of stuff up in the air. Now, this article blew me away because I've been telling you that as you see, they got the Colin Cowherds of the world. They talk crap about Miami, but now we're starting to see the local media begin to chirp. And the local media, I'm not talking about Omar Kelly and some of these guys that are just, I'm talking about Barry Jackson, 35 years. Dave Hyde, 20, 30 years as well. I think David Hyde is the senior guy down here in South Florida. So Barry Jackson posted this. As the talented lead columnist in town, Coat and Hyde, opine on whether to extend Tua, here's one thing I don't get. Why is this being framed as what Tua deserves or earned? That's got nothing to do with anything. The question that should be asked, what's best for the team, the cap, and the future? Says it all. When you see all these people whining and stuff about you got to pay Tua, he's the best thing since this, and sliced bread, and Marino, blah, 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 and he's a pro. What's best for the team? You never hear people talk about that. You never hear people say, you know what, it would be best for the team if we just go ahead and tell Tua, play out your option. And if he decides he doesn't like it, let us know before the draft. Just give me a yell and tell me you're going to hold out or whatever. I dare you. Because as Chris Grier has to do, he has to make sure what's in the best interest of the team, not Tua Tagovailoa. With Frank Smith looking to go coach the Panthers and or the Seahawks and taking these interviews, what do you think he's doing? He's looking out for his best interest. If Fangio decides to go with Harbaugh, which people are beginning to talk about, he's looking for his best interest. Who's looking out for the team at this point? All these players are looking to go to free agency. Hey, he earned the right to go to free agency. Christian Wilkins, dude, you need your defensive tackle. You need your... Yeah, he's earned, we'll see what happens. What? How are you going to let this guy go out the door? What are you doing, Chris Grier, in the best interest of the team? And so far, in literally, today is Wednesday, 4 days, we're seeing shit just go off the rails. You may not think it's going off the rails, but I tell you, and you have to understand that players wanting to get out, other players know I'm not taking less money. Everybody right now seems to be, I'm in it for me. I'm in it. Xavier Howard, straight up, I ain't taking less money. Well, take it for the team. Go screw yourself, man. I'm getting paid. You owe me. You're going to pay me. Looking out for self. Christian Wilkins. Hey, I'm going to have to go test free agency. What's best for me? Who's looking out for the team? And I don't see that right now. I see fans yelling and screaming about pay Tua this and pay Tua that. I'm like, who's looking out for the Miami Dolphins franchise right now? Who's got a good, handle and grasp on what's going on with the team? And I just don't see that being talked about anywhere. And so, Barry Jackson's tweet here made a lot of sense to me. Excuse me. Because it snaps you back into reality. The reality of, hey, none of this shit matters. I don't care about a Pro Bowl. I don't care about yards. I don't care anything. I need a quarterback for next year. Tua, are you in or out? Are you only in if you get $45 million? Okay, that doesn't really tell me it's the best interest of the team. I understand what you need to do. You need to work to get the best possible deal for you and your family. I understand that. Who right now is saying and coming to Chris Grier and say whatever we need to do, other than let me rephrase it. I saw one tweet from the guy who's already paid. That would be Tyreek Hill, who said, let's run it back. Didn't see anybody retweeting that. Didn't see anybody going, Tyreek, you're right. We're going to run it back. At this point, the huddle's been broken and people are looking at their own shit. And this all falls on Chris Grier. So let me see what you guys have to say. Those are guys who remained and came back. I would prefer to win games, championships, rather than get paid and be in a losing, miserable environment. Yeah. Backup pay at best for Tua. Tyreek doesn't care. He got his money. Yeah, but at the same time, they can go to him and say, Tyreek, same thing that they did with X. Would you take less, man? Would you give us a little discount so we can help maybe bring in some offensive linemen? No, man, pay me. Pay me. That's it. I bet you they didn't even want to ask Tyreek. I don't know what he'd do. I can't pass judgment on him, but this team's going to be hurting for money. Hurting for money for sure. Hey, Tuanon, how does it feel to have to admit to yourself that Colin Cowherd has been right all along about Tua? Oh, they'll never admit that. Never. To the death, they will not admit that anybody who has said anything negative about Tua will they ever say has been right. Because they don't make enough money, I guess. Yeah, we're down here in the free state of Florida with no income tax, and we're still seeing these guys looking for greener pastures elsewhere. I don't know. Maybe Christian Wilkins won't get a deal that makes sense once you deduct the taxes and everything else. But let's say he takes a deal. $19 million, $20 million someplace else, and the Miami offer was relatively close, that's going to give you an indication as well as that he wanted out for whatever reason. I forgot the other guy. What's his name? Frank Campanelli, I believe is how you say it. Frank, the linebacker coach. He's taking interviews. So there's nothing that you can say positive about the state of the Miami Dolphins as of today. Barry, you're being so negative. I'm like, well, tell me what's good. If I'm a negative Nelly, if I'm always so down, tell me what's good about the state of the Miami Dolphins today. We can do a video basically called the State of the Union, since that's coming up every year like they do in politics. We'll do the state of the Miami Dolphins. Your offensive coordinator got to be gone. Your defensive coordinator might be gone. You got a bunch of players, 30 to 40% might be gone. Your linebackers coach might be gone. What's good? Lost your last game of the season badly. Tell me what there is that gives you any indication, substantive indication, that things are going to be better next year. And there's only one answer for people there. We hope. We hope, and we hope. I'm sorry, I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy who sits back and goes, ooh, yeah, we're going to be better next year, and everything is great, and rainbows and unicorns, and we're going to be fine, and we've got the Samoan sniper. And you can't answer anything. You can't. I mean, literally, I challenge people. What is good news today? It may change tomorrow. Andrew may come out and say, no, I'm staying. No big deal. Christian Wilkins may come out and say, no, I'm staying. No big deal. I'm talking about today as we all sit here. When people say sometimes you're too negative, and I'm like, okay, tell me the positive shit. Oh, Tua made the Pro Bowl. Jeez. Here's something. We have Cater Coho. We'll be fine. You're laughing at Larry. The NFL is a league of players that only care about the bag. And I don't have a problem with that because, of course, what are you going to do? You're going to do what's best for your family, you and your family. Everybody's going to do that, no matter what. But at the same time, if it's close, I don't have the numbers in terms of what Christian Wilkins is getting paid right now, but I understand he's looking for about $20 million. He wants Aaron Donald type money, and I think he quote deserves it. I think he's earned that. But if the Dolphins don't want to pay him, then they feel he hasn't, which is also insulting to a guy who's like, hey man, I busted my ass out here for you, and you're telling me you don't think I'm worth it? Okay. By the way, how'd those injuries go this year? I played. I was here all year, but I'm not worth it. Got it. There's an age-old question. When is enough money enough? Enough money to you is based upon the predicate of what your status in life is and what you want, which is maybe different than mine, which may be greater than mine. But I don't think you can ever ask. Here's a funny story. I lived in Fort Lauderdale, and who came down? My mom and my aunt came down, and they wanted to see the city. And so I drove around, and then we went to Las Olas Isles. And if you haven't been to Las Olas Isles, it can be shocking. I mean, people have boats that are worth $20, $30 million or more as you're going through Las Olas Isles. And it was my cousin, and she looked up, and I go, what's wrong? She goes, who needs all this? And I said to her, well, how is that for you to say? If somebody has basically succeeded in life and they can afford all of the toys that they want, who are you to say they can't have them? And I just don't understand. So when you say how much money is enough, I don't know. What if I have my eyes set on a new Lambo? What if I have my eyes set on a condo at the beach for a second home, even though I probably only live 10 miles away from it? Because, when my wife and I and kids go to the beach, I don't want to just have some cabana. I want to be able to go to the condo. I can go up and down and do what I want while the kids are playing on the beach. Well, that condo is going to cost probably $1.5, $2 million or more. I got it. And so these guys want to buy a condo by the beach. They got the big house out in Southwest Ranches, the big mansion, but they also have this house. You also know why, because it's also an investment. So how much is enough? That depends if you're living under that type of mindset. For some people, there is no enough, because that means if I get more, hey, maybe I can go ahead and lease a jet. I've told you a story that I used to work directly hand-to-hand with a billionaire. Guy wanted to buy the Miami Dolphins. He did buy, at one point, the Florida Panthers. And he's got the G5 and everything else. And his reasoning, and people never ask these kind of things, how much is enough? I'm like, why do you need to have a G5? Why can't you fly commercial? Well, I'm doing deals up in Madison Avenue in New York, and I promised my wife that I would be home every single night that I could to be with the kids. And when you think about it that way, you're like, damn, yeah, most of us would have to fly, have a meeting, stay in a hotel, have Uber or somebody take us around. Then when we're done, the next day or 2 days later, you go to the airport, go to LaGuardia, come back to FLL, and get another Uber. And this guy can just say, what time's the meeting? Oh, meeting's at 3. Okay, I'll be there. Hey, get the jet ready. We're leaving here at 1:15. And be home in an hour or two after the meeting. Is that enough? Yeah, I mean, when I realized that, I realized at that point, yeah, that's enough. I wanted to be home with my wife, and I told her, she was funny. She's like, "You're going to New York? Yeah, I should be home, about 6:30." She's like, "How the hell is that happening? We're taking his jet. We're gonna fly up, go to the meeting, and come right back." I'm like, yeah, this is it. This makes sense. So all these guys may feel the same way. They may feel like enough is what I decide enough is. I want to take care of my family, my kids, maybe my extended family, and I want to live a life where I don't have to want. It is a first world problem. Don't get me wrong. I do want to keep him. Yeah, it would be good for him to still be here. Let's see what else we got here. Herbert got max money because he's a talented quarterback with an arm and has size. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that he played under Brandon Staley, had a crap offensive coach. And all you'd have to do is look at what would he do in Mike McDaniel's offense. Would he have had a problem throwing the ball in the cold in Kansas City? Would his arm have allowed him to cut through the cold? People don't like to think about that. They just think he sucks. He hasn't done anything. Well, yeah, he's had his version of Flores. If you give Tua a pass for playing with Flores, then why aren't you giving Herbert a pass for playing with Flores? Why aren't you giving Jalen Hurts a pass for dealing with somebody like Flores with Sirianni? You guys all hate Sirianni. Not all you guys, but many people don't like Sirianni. Many people think he's an idiot. Well, Jalen Hurts has to play with him. Tua is the only player in the NFL that I know of, unless you guys know otherwise, where the coach has said, I'm going to surround you with comfort and luxury, and everything I do is going to be determined and predicated on making you comfortable. How long do you think Tua would last if Bill Belichick was his coach? How long do you think Tua would last if Jim Harbaugh was his coach? These coaches ain't doing the shit that Mike McDaniel did. What do you mean? You want me to put together a 700-play tape to prove you don't suck? Are you shitting me? You also want unicorns and Bambi to come to your room tonight? You either get your ass on the field or go home. Let me find somebody else. Mike McDaniel has protected Tua to the extreme, to the point where it has become detrimental to the rest of the team. Barry, how can you say that? I watched it on Sunday. On Sunday, he couldn't do anything because of what Tua's limitations are. He couldn't throw through the cold. I mean, God, we know that Skylar Thompson played at Kansas State. Why didn't you prepare Skylar Thompson? You knew what he did in Buffalo last year. Why didn't you make Mike White the third string guy, prepare Skylar Thompson, and have him ready to come in? Why did you not try to do anything other than keep Tua in the game until it was lost? Nobody wants to ask those questions. So that's where I am there. What's it say? Manberry. To me, Daniel Jones and Herbert has not done anything in this league and still got a big bag of money. Well, then you're basically underscoring what I'm saying. If the two of them got paid and did nothing, then there's no return on investment for the ownership, right? Your own words, they didn't do anything, but they got money. See, they did it, all these teams did it backwards. Hey, we're going to give you $40, $50 million a year, even though you haven't done anything, you haven't earned it. We're going to give it to you because we think you can. Whether on the other flip side, if you own a business, you're not doing that. It's like, oh, Fred is kicking ass in sales. Fred is doing we need to give Fred a raise. You don't go and say, hey, Fred, I'm going to double your salary because I think you're going to be a good salesperson. You see how that's completely ass backwards right there? You just said it yourself. Daniel Jones and Herbert didn't do anything and they got a big bag. Exactly. So why would you give Tua, who is in the same boat, hasn't done anything, has not won a playoff game? Don't miss me with that yard shit. He's in the same boat as those guys. Why would you reward somebody who hasn't performed? Because it feels good? Because Tua deserves it? Little Tui needs the money? Come on, man. You got to be better than that. Let's see what here. Oh, wow. Okay, you're right. Daniel Jones did win a playoff game. I did not know that. Okay. Little Tui be fine. He just needs a hug. I'm over that myself. Maybe I'm too old school. Maybe I come from a different era. But all this, give me a nap time shit. Everybody gets a trophy bullshit. I'm just not down for that. I mean, I just believe a man's supposed to do a man's job. And you have to perform, and I shouldn't ever have to come to you and give you a pat on the back and tell you to look in the mirror and say you don't suck. You're an NFL player getting $23 million a year. If you still think, if your psyche is so fragile that I have to continue doing everything I can to make you feel good, then you shouldn't be an elite quarterback. You're not an elite quarterback. Nobody ever wants to talk about that. Think about that. Hey, guys, Mike McDaniel basically wasted the Kansas City game because he wouldn't take Tua and say, run audibles. You don't feel comfortable having him run audibles? Why not? Stick your head in there and do a quarterback sneak. Why are you not doing a quarterback sneak? Why aren't you doing every time I hear Tony Romo or any guy on television saying that Mike McDaniel is running an RPO, I laugh. I literally laugh. You want to know why? Because every quarterback I know that runs an RPO means run pass option, meaning I can stick it in, pull it back, and run. Tua ain't doing that. Tua's doing an RPP. Basically, I'll fake the run, and I'll come back, and I'll look to throw it, but he never looks at it and says, let me stick it in here, let me pull it out, the defensive end bit, I'm going to take off now. That's not an RPO. That's an RPP. All he's looking to do after the fake is to throw it. That's it. What did somebody say? He had 5 first downs all year. The entirety of the season, he had 5 first downs. You're telling me on 3rd and 1, 3rd and inches, with his body, nice, stocky, lower center of gravity, big butt, he couldn't stick his head in there and get you an inch? An inch? 3rd and inches? That's not elite to me. To me, a man says, "Give me the ball. I'm gonna, let's at least try." No, we got to go to the shotgun on 3rd and 1, and we're gonna throw a backward pass to Tyreek. No one ever asked Mike, why don't you do that? Why don't you run quarterback sneaks ever? Why is it not even your playbook? Every other NFL team, it's 3rd and 1, 3rd and inches. Get up there and just go ahead and do a quarterback sneak. Why is it that you never run that play with Tua as your quarterback? Nobody ever asked that. But it's clear why. If you're still worried about him getting dinged on his noggin, then he's not an elite quarterback. You're protecting him. Okay, enough about Tua. All right. Why did Tyreek leave the Chiefs? Yeah, I don't have to Google it. He wants money. Oh, Corey, RPI. Read pass, interception. Good gosh. Tua has kids to feed. I don't mind wanting him to want the bag, but our franchise has to look out for the team, not just one guy. We love the guy. That's not how business is done. Football's a business. You're absolutely right. So, those of you who decided to stay for this and come back for this second part of the session. By the way, I was sitting here and all of a sudden I went, poof, I got a blue screen, and I looked over here at the other monitor and I was frozen. I was like, oh shit, what the hell happened? Anyway, I wasn't looking at the CPU usage. I guess that got high. And anyway, thanks for coming. I'm not going anywhere yet.
Come on, show some love and click that like button.
Hitting the like button. All right, so I told you the local press was basically is starting to ask the questions about Mike McDaniel. Let me see if this shows up. Yes. All right. So this is from Dave Hyde, and this article is absolutely scathing. Scathing. All right. What counts is accountability, except for Dolphins general manager Chris Grier, and he's talking about how it's time. It's time. So I've highlighted a few passages for us to go over down here. Actually, a lot of it. Starts off with, should the Miami Dolphins lengthen their general manager title to general manager for life? Whew. All right. Damn, Dave. Right off the bat, you come out swinging. Because is he general manager for life? He's not getting bounced out of here for any reason. Does Chris Grier sit in a chair like a Supreme Court justice, or is he simply invisible like some David Copperfield magic act? Ouch. And he sets the tone of this article with those first couple sentences. Nobody holds Grier accountable for the wrong way decisions and failed 5-year rebuild of this team, ever. 5 years. Going into 6 years of, quote, rebuilding. That's absurd. Nobody understands why this Dolphins roster assembled with historic pain and sacrifice can't beat good teams still. I'm telling you, Tua fans and the nuts won't like this article. Nobody notices the window is closing on the Dolphins, and if proper measures aren't taken, the dark ages will descend on everyone again. And in saying nobody notices, I specifically mean team owner Steve Ross, who believed this tank to the top plan of team president Tom Garfinkel, who entrusted the heavy lifting to Grier, who was either headed to the Hall of Fame with all the resources given him or to the trash chute if it failed. Damn, Dave. Oddly, it's neither. Oddly, it's just business as usual this offseason for the Dolphins. They've casually brushed any accountability under the rug and are done with it. The 5-year plan simply adjusts to a 6-year plan. That's pretty much, what a lot of us have been saying is like nothing changes. As I said earlier, tell me what you see good happening with the Miami Dolphins next year as of today. Nobody can see it. He goes on, quarterback Tua Tagovailoa gets some public heat, but Grier says the plan is to have, quote, him long-term playing at a high level, except he hasn't been playing at a high level. He picked Tagovailoa. He can't come out now and say, I'm not sure about Tua, without the spotlight swinging to him because he was the one who picked him. Completely correct. As for this 5-year plan that's produced no playoff wins, Grier was asked Monday if it's a success. I love this here. It's a little mixed. It's not what we hoped for. I mean, because this is now 2 years with Coach Mike McDaniel. We won 9 games a year ago, 11 this year. We've taken steps. I think we have a good roster, but you can't keep it. You already told all of us that you're going to be able to, but you're going to turn over 30 to 40% of this good roster that you're talking about. Whether success or failure, I leave that for you guys to judge, huh? So you want us to judge your work. Understand what he just said there. That's a quote. Whether success or failure, I leave that for you guys to judge. But I think we're building something good that we feel good about, and we're looking forward to continuing that in the offseason next year. And Dave jumped on that as well. Why is it left to you guys to judge? Leave it to the scoreboard. Isn't that the judge at the end of the season? It's the ultimate judge. I've told you guys many times in my videos, the ultimate judge, or rather the number one thing, is did you win your last game of the season? If you did not win your last game of the season is a failure. Especially with this roster. That last game of the season, obviously, is a Super Bowl. Did you win your last game of the season? Don't want to care that basically your last win this season was the Dallas Cowboys a month ago. And if Greer wants to restart the clock in 2022 with his partnership with McDaniel, let's carry that to the full idea. McDaniel is 20-16, including the postseason, with no playoff wins and a completed roster. Brian Flores was run out of this organization for going 19-14 in his final 2 years with half this talent. That's what a lot of people don't realize. They're basically at the same point that Brian Flores is. I don't know why people don't understand that. McDaniel is 20-16, no playoff wins, and Brian Flores was 19-14, and he had half the talent. Half the talent. And Mike McDaniel hasn't taken anything further, and neither has Tua. So it's been 5 years of sacrifice and pain for a nothing burger, and no one making decisions has been held accountable for anything other than blaming Brian Flores. Right, Greer fired all his bullets to make this past year great. That's why the Dolphins were the oldest team in the playoffs, even before signing geezers the final week to help the defense. It's why they're now $40 million over the salary cap. Did you know that the Miami Dolphins were the oldest team in the playoffs? That's not building for the future. When you are the oldest team, there's not much further you can go. That maybe that's why he's got to turn over 30-40% of the roster, but then you're right back to square one. You're just in a constant state of rebuild. It's also why the Dolphins enter April's draft with the least draft capital over a 3-year run of any team in history. They don't have 3rd and 4th round picks this year. That tells you how much the Dolphins poured into this season. If you win the Super Bowl, as the Rams did in creating this model, all is well. You don't win a single playoff game? Not so much. Again, this is all fact. It's not conjecture. If you looked it up, you could see it yourself. The least draft capital over a 3-year run of any team in history. As I pose the question to you, what's good about going into next year? Nothing. Absolutely friggin' nothing. And people don't realize, we're going to be better next year. I can't wait. There's nothing positive for you to look at. Nothing. I challenge you. But if you don't win a playoff game, if you're 1-6 against playoff teams, if your aging roster loses its final 3 games against good teams, sure, injuries were a problem on defense. Some of that was bad luck. Some was because of having older players, a lot of wear and tear on their bodies. Never hear that either. Hey man, you signed Teron Armstead. You decided you were going to make a reclamation project, and this guy couldn't stay on the field for an entire season. Xavier Howard couldn't stay on the field. Okay? Now the Dolphins have hard decisions that can't be solved by trading draft picks or spending money. See, the credit card is basically maxed. Take Tua's cap number of $23 million. It can be shifted lower with a new contract, but how much do you invest in a quarterback who has shown physical limitations against good teams? Do you think of the franchise's future in making that decision? Again, just like with Barry Jackson, are you thinking about the team or are you thinking about Tua? Are you listening to fans who want you to give him $45 million, or are you thinking about the future of the team? How much are you willing to invest in a quarterback that can't get it done and has physical limitations? Brutal. There are a handful of other players to renegotiate contracts or just release to save cap. Just release. Tyreek Hill, for instance, is on the book for $31 million next year. That will get redone. He'll make more money and his cap number will get lowered. Easy stuff. So they're going to probably try to restructure his contract. Then there's Xavier, and he's scheduled for $25 million. He's 31 next year and didn't finish the season. Will he take less money? And as he says in a quote, somebody asked him, would you take less money if your boss asked you? That's not pretty. It's not pretty at all. The typical way to move on from such expensive veterans is with younger players. The Dolphins, as the two past drafts have shown, don't have many young players. Maybe to finish this quarterback idea, second-round rookie Cam Smith finds his way in year 2, as often happens. Do you bank on that? You're going to have to. This guy couldn't get on the field. Eric Ezekama, don't know what happened to him. Channing Tindall, don't know what happened to him. These guys couldn't even get on the field, to the point where you signed Ethan Connor, I believe is Bonner, onto a free agent contract, and he wasn't even drafted because Cam Smith couldn't play. Ross moved on. Okay, bottom line, the bill is starting to come due for this massive rebuild that's delivered nothing. Nothing. There's been no return whatsoever for Stephen Ross. Ross moved on from Bill Parcells and fired Jeff Ireland, Dennis Hickey, and Mike Tannenbaum in Greer's role. Maybe he's just tired of firing people. Maybe he's given up trying to answer questions that have eluded him for so long. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result, Ross said in announcing the rebuild back in 2019 with Greer. He defined that. Fast forward to this offseason, we just keep grinding and chopping wood. We have a good roster. So you are going to keep doing the same thing over and over again for now the 6th year. Year 5 of this plan now moves to year 6, or maybe it's year 3 since McDaniel came aboard, when there's no accountability, when you're general manager for life. What does time matter? And I believe that's it. Scathing. The local media, who I'm sure Stephen Ross and his staff must take a look at, are now saying, hey, listen, are you seeing what's happening here? People are starting to question your credibility. They're starting to question whether you have your wits about you for letting this team be the same way year after year after year. Say what you want about Jerry Jones. The guy wants to win. He wants to win. He runs his organization. He hasn't been able to, but he wants to win. He's engaged. He's there. Arthur Blank, he wants the Atlanta Falcons to win. He's trying to get Jim Harbaugh or Bill Belichick. He's trying to win. I'll spend the money, but I want to win. You got owner after owner who looks at things in that way. The new Washington Commanders ownership with Magic Johnson and the other guys, they're out there making moves, bringing in new general managers, bringing in new personnel people so that they can move forward with the operation. Try to get better. The objective, trying to get better. The Miami Dolphins aren't doing anything. Well, Barry, why are you so negative? Why are you so upset? Because I can see, and you should be able to see, other teams out there making moves. They're making moves to try and improve. I'll say it again. Show me where the Miami Dolphins are doing anything to try and improve. I can't see it. I can't get excited about the new year because it's already starting off. We're in 2024, and it's starting off with hiccup after hiccup, loss, guys wanting to leave, want more money, and there's nothing positive about it. Nothing. And Chris Greer just expects everybody, I mean, with the giggle and he and Mike doing the comedy routine, and I'm thinking up there, do you guys realize you're playing with this man's asset? You're playing with Stephen Ross's asset, and you're up here doing an Abbott and Costello routine. You can pick which one is which. And you're just kind of joking. And you've been rebuilding for 6 years. Now, Stephen Ross obviously can go, he goes to the owners' meetings. He can see Robert Kraft making moves. Hey, I don't like how things turned out. We got to make some moves. We got to move up in the draft. Mac Jones ain't making it. I can see that. We're going to do something. Green Bay Packers, hey, Aaron doesn't want to be here, and we really don't want him here. Let's go with Jordan Love. Let's build a team around him. Chris Greer ain't doing shit. And I can't get anyone to refute that. And now we're seeing the local media beginning to say the same thing. They're beginning to see this and go, come on, man. Year after friggin' year after friggin' year after friggin' year, and you're just joking with Mike McDaniel, who hasn't shown you anything, and you put a Ferrari on the field and the engine froze up. You weren't able to put the ram F-150 or whatever and out there and grind it out. You put the Ferrari out in the snow and you wonder why it didn't work. And what are you doing to fix that? Well, you don't have any draft picks. You ain't got any money. You're hoping for free agency. Offensive tackles, left tackle, you know how much the left tackle is going to cost you? It's going to probably cost you a shitload of money to bring someone to come and take Teron Armstead's spot. You got Austin Jackson, so you're okay over there for now. There is nothing positive on the horizon for the Miami Dolphins. Yet fans get on Twitter and call you stupid and say you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, well, I challenge you just to show me. I'm a big boy. It should be easy if you're so hyped up, unless it's all based on hope. And I'm sorry, I can't do that. I won't be that for you guys. I will talk definitively about what I see. I will show you facts and substantive information. I will show you what the local sports writers are saying. I'll show you what the national media is saying. I'll show you how the draft shakes out. I'll show you the schedule when it comes out, and you'll see it. Because last year, I went and checked. I said this team was going to be 11-7. I actually said that in one of my videos. I was like, wow, okay, wow, pick that. Nobody wanted to hear it back then. They don't want to hear it now. How does this team improve? That's what I want to see. That's what I'll bring to you. Let me grab some comments here before we go. Can't fire Ross. You know, the sad part is discussing this today, and when the hammer comes down, they'll be all over Twitter like, what happened? Yep. After 20 years of disappointment, my hope is gone. Actually, that's all people have at this point. And it's almost like Chris Greer relies on it. Hey, have hope. Angry Dolphins says, I need results. Harvey says, nope. But get used to losing with Ross. As history said, learn to enjoy losing. Yeah, I believe a certain amount of this is on him. Because I think that at this point, Stephen Ross needs to make a huge move. You heard Brian Baldinger in my video yesterday. He's talking about if you even remotely want the coach that everyone wants, go talk to him in a restaurant, go talk to him on your yacht, go talk to him, basically in your condo, and talk to Jim Harbaugh. And everybody yesterday, again, they get this false information. That's tampering. No. Tampering is you can't talk with an NFL coach until after the divisional round, of which Jim Harbaugh is not an NFL coach. He could go talk to Jim Harbaugh anytime he wants. I don't know who says this other shit out there, but they're lying to you. What does Dan Marino have to say? I've often wondered that. I've often wondered what Dan Marino would say about what's going on and what he sees. He's not a very public person. Don't know why, but I would love for someone to actually interview him. But I think with his personality, he's so fiery, he would probably say something people don't want to hear. And so he just stays in the background. But I'm sure he talks to Stephen Ross. You got the draft, free agency, and trades to improve the roster. All right. You should go look at the draft picks and see who's there. You should go look at free agency, and you're going to see if you want to do that. Who are you going to pay? Where are you going to get the money? And if you're going to trade, who's your trade bait? When you make a statement like that, Jermaine, understand, go look. Go look at the draft picks that Miami has and what you're expecting. Remember, I just read that to you in an article. Where's that article? Right here. Let me just pull this back up. Sometimes I think you guys speak before you, you tweet before you actually listen. Where is it in here? And he's talking about, okay. Okay, so in this article, once again, he talks about the draft picks here. Don't have it, but they don't have the draft picks to go out there and do a whole bunch of stuff. Where is it? God, I can't find it for you right now. Anyway, they don't have the draft picks, so I don't know what you do if you don't have those draft picks to go out there and get guys. And then we've seen his ability to do the draft. And that doesn't have a good track record. Barry, how do you know that? I'll throw a name out at you. Eric Ezekama. I'll throw another name at you. Cam Smith. How about another Channing Tindall? Swing and a miss, swing and a miss, swing and a miss. That's 3 in a row. Strike, you're out. So when you make a statement like, we've got the draft, we got free agency and trades, how'd they do in free agency this year? Jalen Ramsey. Other than that, you need too many guys. If you're going to turn over 40% of this roster, you got to do a lot. Jermaine, who you want in the draft? So you get the 21st pick, and basically you can probably get somebody good. Probably going to have to maybe move up. But who are you going to trade if you move up? Who is the trade bait for the Miami Dolphins right now that anybody would actually want? You're going to trade Jeff Wilson? You maybe trade, since Achane played so good, you want to trade Mostert, a 31, going to be 32-year-old running back? You saw what the value is of running backs, so let's not say there's much value in the running backs, Jeff Wilson or Mostert. Wide receivers, you're not going to trade Waddle or Tyreek. So are you going to trade River Craycraft? Durham Smythe? What do you think that value is going to be? I mean, they're talking about Justin Fields, a quarterback, being worth maybe a conditional number 1 or possibly a 2 or a 3. That's a quarterback. Cedric Wilson? You're going to trade him? Who are you going to trade? I mean, I'd love, if you guys could say stuff like that, Jermaine, that'd be fun. But I'm like, who? Who the hell are you going to... I'm going down the line, and I'm thinking, well, you can't trade Teron Armstead. He's got no value. Robert Hunt, no value. Leon Eichenberg, he's not going to have any value for you. So, the guys across the front, Christian Wilkins, you let him go to a free agent, you could probably move him, but you got to make sure somebody wants to take that big salary. Zach Sealer, there's a possibility. He's under contract. You want to trade Zach? What are you going to get? Maybe a third, maybe a guard. I don't know. But there's a give and take. Bradley Chubb? No, you're not going to trade him. Jalen Phillips? Nope, not going to trade him. AVG? Possibly, but he's a free agent. So when you say stuff like that, trade, who are you going to trade and what's their value? What are you going to get for them? Hey, Mountain Man, yeah, there's like 26 free agents. 26 free agents. That's friggin' scary. Absolutely. And given Chris Greer's track record, it's even scarier. Get rid of... Okay, so here's something. Somebody says get rid of Agba, dead weight. Well, if you know he's dead weight, doesn't it mean the rest of the league knows? What do you think his value is? What are you going to get? A 7th? In 2026? Nobody's going to give up anything valuable for Emmanuel Agba. So if you know he's shit, they know he's shit. That's all I'm saying is at this point, when you start looking at this roster, unless you plan on trading Tyreek, which you're not, Jalen Waddle, maybe a Waddle might get some interest. But for you to get something, you're going to have to give up something. Somebody on this team would have to go away in order for you to get something of, comparable value. I see dark days ahead. Yeah, like I said, I keep. Can we get a first for Tua? Hell no. Nope, ain't gonna happen. Nope, not gonna happen. And Jermaine CCR says we don't even know what picks we have, and you're talking like an expert, Jermaine. I understand where Jermaine's coming from because at this point, all we have is the dartboard. All we have is like, okay, because right now we don't even know who the free agents are, don't even know what the Dolphins can afford, and that's been the theme of what I've tried to say tonight, is there's no good news. I mean, I can stop making videos and talking about these things when they come up, and trust me, I didn't plan on doing a video today, and then I'm seeing this thing from Hard Knocks, I'm like, oh shit. And then I see the talk about Fangio, and I'm like, oh shit. And then I see this article by Dave Hyde, and I'm like, oh shit. It's just like, oof, oof, oof. And then I see the idiots on Twitter going, it's going to be great, man. We're going to be fine next year. Barry, stop talking negatively. And I'm like, nobody. And I do mean, well, maybe Omar Kelly. No, even he said it was a apocalypse. Nobody is looking forward to 2024 with the Miami Dolphins. Nobody. Find something, send it my way. You got the email. Post it in a comment. Tell me where you find some good news. Because right now, It's so weird because the season's over and there's many teams. I mean, think about this. Y'all laughed at the Los Angeles Chargers and Justin Herbert. They've got a lot of good news. Justin Herbert's going to be healthy. They're going to bring in a new offensive coordinator, a new staff, a new head coach. They're going to completely change their offense. Things are looking good for them. Some of the Buffalo Bills are still in the playoffs. Kansas City Chiefs are still in the playoffs. Pittsburgh got bounced, but now they just need to find a quarterback. And if they find a quarterback, they're not that far away. What the hell are we going to do? And I'd love to hear some of you guys say it. Lab Rat says Fangs and Harbaugh reunite in Miami. Whew. Jordan and Travis would be our best hope. Sneak him in the middle rounds. Yeah, but with that horrible broken leg, he may fall. You're right. He may fall, and he might be one of those guys that you just take a flyer on and say, listen, let's how you doing? How you training? Are you getting better? You feel better? Let's put him through the ropes here and see what happens. That might be a decent one. You guys are talking about Justin Herbert sucking. Watch what happens when it's funny. Flores and people said Tua sucked. He got an offensive-minded coach like Mike McDaniel, and look what happened. Josh Allen, they were 6-6. In case you don't wonder how much coaches matter, they were 6-6, and they went on a run and took us down because they got a new offensive coordinator. Watch out next year for what happens with Justin Herbert, especially if Harbaugh takes that job. Then I'm going to see people go, oh shit, he's good? Watch what happens. It's all about, what you put that in front of that quarterback. People are stupid. Herbert's a baller. He balls out every year. He's able to do what he has. Talk about injuries. Look at that team. You want to look at a team and wonder, how did this guy do this? How in the hell is Baker Mayfield winning in Tampa Bay? How is Baker Mayfield, who, by the way, I made a video last year and said, sign that dude. Sign that dude, bring him in to compete with Tua, and people went absolutely nuts, ballistic. I'm like, bring Baker Mayfield in. He's gritty. He's cheap. You'd be able to have him on the roster. And now, guess what? He's still playing. We're home. Last year, you can find a video. Go ahead and search Baker Mayfield on his team, and you will see it. Where I said, sign this guy. Nobody wanted to sign it. Yeah, you said the same thing. Sign Baker Mayfield. Baker's a dog. He's got that dog in him. And I don't know if you can say one quarterback is better than another, but one thing I do see in Baker that I don't see in Tua is heart. He is a fighter. He ain't gonna worry about doing a 3rd and 1 and doing a quarterback sneak. In fact, he may overrule you and say we're gonna do a quarterback sneak. He'll stick his head in there and he'll fight with the defensive tackle and everybody underneath there. Yeah, Baker will take a punch and he will give a punch. He's playing in a crap division, but at the same time, he was cheap. He wasn't expensive last year. You weren't going to spend a whole lot of money on him, and then you could have had him compete with Tua. And as I close, that's one thing I want to say. Why are so many people afraid? I'm not saying trade Tua. I'm not saying release Tua. All I'm saying is, can you bring someone in to compete with him and let them have the reps in Mike McDaniel's offense and see what we could do? Why are people so afraid of seeing what another quarterback could do in this offense? People freaked out when I said that last year. Hey, bring this guy in. Oh, bring this guy in. Try this guy. See what he can do in this offense. Nope, don't even want the competition. Let's go get this guy Mike White, who sucks butt. And let's make Skylar Thompson basically invisible and put him on a 3rd string inactive list every single Sunday. And let's not give those guys any reps during a week. I think if there's a positive, it's next year's camp. If Mike McDaniel will do it, if he will let somebody come in and compete with Tua, that would probably be the best thing for this team. It may not be the best thing for Tua, May not be the best thing for Tuanon, but it would be the best thing for the team. And I think at this point, people have got to begin looking out for, the team. And what's that? And don't forget that Baker had less than 4 days with the Rams and came in, played lights out, a little flaky at times, but has a decent football IQ and has been around, so he knows a lot of different systems. Yeah, absolutely. Brady says, I didn't like when they put Skyler on third string and just gave him no reps whatsoever. Okay, here's Justin. How are you? Let's say we do bring in another quarterback to compete with Tua. If that quarterback ends up being better than Tua, Mike McDaniel will start Tua because he caught. See, that's your problem. That's the problem with the Miami Dolphins. If somebody comes in and outplays Tua, I can't imagine Tua sitting with a clipboard on the bench. What would happen to his psyche? Will he be able to sustain? Will he be able to keep his head in the game in case somebody gets hurt? Because to me, that's my best shot. If somebody gets hurt and I come in and ball out, I told you I was the guy. I told you. But you're right. Guys, thank you for bearing with me on the problem today. I don't know what happened and when everything shut down, but thanks for coming back the second time. If there's more news tomorrow, I'll be back. Oh, wait a minute. Tomorrow's Thursday. No. I'm doing a show with TD, TD Finstock. He and I are going to be doing our Straight Talk show on his channel, TD Finstock. So you should see him probably post something. I think it's about 7:30. I'll be with TD. So there won't be a show here tomorrow night. I'll probably do a video that I'll post, but tomorrow night I'll be with TD Finstock. So that should be fun. Get a lot of people all pissed off. Two of us, two haters together. Drives people absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts. Talk to you guys tomorrow if you head over to TD Finstock channel tomorrow. Thanks for tuning back in this